Roman Reigns has called himself the tribal chief for 5 consecutive years. He built an entire empire around that designation. The authority, the acknowledgement ceremony, the bloodline mythology, all of it constructed to establish one irrefutable claim. One man sits at the top of the Polynesian wrestling hierarchy. That man is Roman Reigns. But that claim now has a problem it has never once encountered before in 5 years of total dominance. A 67-year-old man just walked onto SmackDown carrying a traditional war club, established authority over his entire family without acknowledging Roman once, without referencing the tribal chief title, and without requesting permission from a single person in that building. Stay locked in, because the argument being built right now is not fan fiction. It is the most logical conclusion of everything confirmed on screen, and by the end of this video you will never see Roman's tribal chief presentation the same way again. Tidal Wave is live, where the biggest wrestling arguments get built from confirmed evidence, and you always know clearly when documented fact shifts into editorial position. Essential context for anyone new to this story. The tribal chief title is not a WWE championship belt. It is a cultural designation Roman built within his character, establishing himself as supreme authority over the Bloodline faction and the broader Polynesian wrestling community on screen. Roman has operated under that designation for 5 years. Everyone around him acknowledges it. The entire architecture of that authority rests on one assumption: Roman is the most powerful and respected figure at the top of this family hierarchy. Haku is 67 years old, father of Tama and Tala Tonga, WWE Hall of Famer, and the man Hulk Hogan identified without hesitation as the toughest human being this entire industry has ever produced. He just walked onto Roman's brand without permission or warning. And that assumption now has its first genuinely unscripted challenge in 5 years of television dominance. Here is the fully confirmed picture. Roman rebuilt the bloodline after WrestleMania 42. World Heavyweight Champion Jacob Fatu acknowledged, the Usos restored, Paul Heyman reinstalled as special counsel. Structurally solid from every observable angle on the surface. Then on July 31st SmackDown, something happened that no structural analysis accounts for. Haku walked out with a traditional Tongan war club, stood between Tama and Tala Tonga, and issued one directive: make them fear us again. Within minutes his sons dismantled Damian Priest, R-Truth, and the War Raiders simultaneously. Haku walked to the ring and stood over both title belts without touching them. And the specific detail most analysts processed and immediately moved past: Haku did not acknowledge Roman Reigns. Not once. He did not reference the tribal chief title. He did not request territory or permission from anyone present. He arrived and established his presence as though the existing hierarchy was entirely irrelevant to his purposes. Haku hails from the same island as High Chief Peter Maivia, the original patriarch whose legacy connects to the dynasty Roman represents. He predates Roman's entire conception of Polynesian wrestling authority. He was winning championships alongside Andre the Giant before Roman was born. Roman's tribal chief title is a character. What Haku represents existed long before WWE invented a name for it. Right here, if this argument is landing with the weight it deserves, smash that like button and subscribe to Tidal Wave immediately, because the full case being built right now is the most important wrestling conversation happening in 2026. Hit that notification bell. When Roman responds to this, it happens fast and without announcement. Now here is where this gets genuinely uncomfortable for Roman's entire legacy. Here is the documented fact reframing everything. The Tongan Death Grip, Haku's finishing hold, is confirmed by multiple real-world eyewitnesses, including veteran wrestler Stevie Ray, to function in genuine, non-scripted confrontations. Stevie Ray stated on his own podcast, "If you have ever seen the Tongan Death Grip on television, understand that it is real." In a documented backstage incident, Haku gouged out another wrestler's eyeball in a genuine altercation. In a separate bar confrontation with 5 men who called wrestling fake, he knocked 3 unconscious, applied the grip to a 4th, and bit the nose off the 5th. Hulk Hogan was asked who the toughest wrestler alive was. His immediate answer: Meng brother. Meng being Haku's WCW name. This is the man who arrived on SmackDown without a suit, without a microphone, carrying a war club instead. That is not how you arrive to manage a tag team. That is how you arrive to claim territory that was always yours. Now here is where this script shifts clearly into editorial territory. Stated directly so you always know what you are hearing. The internet wrestling community filed Haku's return under tag title program. Tama and Tala win belts. Story ends neatly. Comfortable read. Analytically wrong. Roman built his tribal chief authority through ceremony, acknowledgement rituals, scripted faction control, championship lineage. Haku built his authority through 67 years of being the most genuinely feared presence in every room this industry placed him in. Two fundamentally different currencies of power. And here is the question exposing the gap between them. Roman has spent 5 years demanding acknowledgement from everyone around him. Haku arrived on his brand and acknowledged nobody at all. In the real cultural framework, the tribal chief character borrows its language from which behavior actually belongs to the man at the top. The answer is not Roman Reigns. And Roman knows it, which is precisely why he has not addressed Haku publicly even once since July 31st. Haku psychology is the element separating this analytical argument from fan fiction entirely. He stated in genuine interviews, not wrestling promos, not character work, that his Tongan heritage is the source of his legendary toughness. The culture he comes from is not backstory crafted by a creative team. It is the foundation of everything he is. So when he says make them fear us again on WWE television, that is not a catchphrase generated in a production meeting. It is a cultural directive from a man who has spent 67 years earning the right to issue it. Roman Reigns is a phenomenal performer who turned the tribal chief concept into one of the greatest characters in professional wrestling history, genuinely, unqualifiedly. But performance and authentic cultural authority occupy different spaces. In the space where real weight lives, in the documented roots of who built this dynasty, Haku does not need a ceremony. He does not need a championship. He simply needs to arrive. Roman built the television version of an authority. Haku is the living original of. Drop a comment right now, real tribal chief or television tribal chief. Is Haku the authentic authority at the top of this Polynesian wrestling hierarchy? Or does Roman's 5-year reign make him rightful chief regardless of what came before? Subscribe to Tidal Wave immediately, hit the notification bell, and share this with whoever needs to hear this argument properly before it becomes the mainstream conversation. 2 facts and we are done. Roman Reigns spent 5 years building the most dominant character in modern wrestling around the concept of being the head of the table. Haku just walked into that restaurant, sat at the head of the table without an invitation, and ordered for the whole family without once glancing at the menu. Nobody stopped him. Nobody addressed it. And the longer Roman stays silent, the more that silence becomes its own answer. Next video, what Roman Reigns does when he finally accepts that Haku is not here to coexist with anyone. Tidal Wave out.